It worked. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Was so cool that intro worked. I was happy about it. We're happy here. Shawn, just press your start video. Everything should work out. Welcome to the Metal Detecting Nation channel. If you haven't seen our channel before or our live stream, we are just a kooky bunch of people who love metal detecting. We like talking about it. We like sharing stories. We like learning more about how to do things more successfully. We always say we don't know everything. In fact, we don't know a lot. We just like talking about metal detecting. So how is everybody doing? Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We just go around and I ask how everybody's doing, and you'll be last, and then we'll quiz you on everything, and it'll be fun. We have a lot of people in the chat today, 18 people watching right now, which is very cool. Nancy, you're muted. How are you doing?
Oops. That just shows you how I'm doing.
Come on, rookie.
Hey, I've had a rough week now. All right. Hi, everybody. We're here. I'm here. I'm doing well, Jordy. Thank you.
Good. Did you get out this past weekend?
I finally gave in and had a little bit of social distance in on Sunday, and I checked myself into the asylum, and I did a little metal detecting at the asylum.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was great to be back there. I haven't been there since our Halloween dig when we did our night dig. So it was great. I had a great time. It was good to see. Part of the crew was there. And it was just nice to get out there and dig. It was great.
That's awesome. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good.
It was a long week. Didn't get to detect, but I'm looking forward to this weekend getting out.
Yeah. Hopefully the rain holds off, or we'll able to. Oh, I can't go. My daughter's birthday.
Yeah, you're not going, so Dave and I will hunt in the rain. We don't have to worry
fine.
about you. We don't have to worry about you melting.
Just send me pictures. Joel, how you doing?
Good, brother.
Everything good?
Yeah, man. Long weeks.
I hear
weeks.
you.
I woke up this morning thinking it was Thursday for some reason. I thought I missed stream last night, but I got out this weekend with my buddy Scott. We went to a park. I found a couple Wheaties in a Merc. It was a beautiful day. So social distancing. Got it.
At its finest.
Rachel, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
We all have to bow down to you, Rachel, every week for your job and what you do. And so thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And how was your week?
It was good. We went out Sunday. Sorry about the noise. My brother's taking the dogs out.
That's all right.
Or feeding them. We were able to get out Sunday because some friends from a metal detecting club had a permission on our farm field. So we were able to go out and stay about 70 feet apart.
Yeah, I hear you. So, Shawn, welcome to our channel. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks.
And tell us first a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Shawn. Cheryl is what everybody doesn't really know me as. They know me more of either Whitey or Sergeant Whitey. So that's my rank and my nickname from high school. So that's what I go by, put them together. I'm originally born in Texas, raised in Texas for a little while, grew up in Arkansas, graduated from New Mexico, and then went to the Marine Corps and got stationed out at 29 Palms and Camp Pendleton, and did 8.5 total years, California and Oklahoma reserve. After I got out of active duty, then I went to reserve and moved back out here in 2016. And I've been in North Carolina since 2016.
Very cool. Now, Joel, how did you befriend Shawn? How long have you guys been talking?
John and I have been friends on Facebook for a while, so probably at least maybe a couple years. Maybe I follow his page and his channel, and he finds some cool stuff. And hey, Shawn, thank you for your service, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Beat me to it.
So I got to share something with you before we go into the questions. You got to have one of the coolest logos that there is in any realm. It's very cool. If you look at it, How'd you create that? Who created it?
I'd have to get his name. It's the same creator that did Treasure Mountain Metal Detecting's logo. So, and actually for that matter, the Relic Recoverist. I sent it to her. She asked me who it was, and I had to go find the email and forward it over to him, to her. But I know Ed Huffman just got a new logo that he posted out there the other day that looks pretty tight, and he just had it done by the same guy. But yeah, I'd always wanted to do something with Marine Corps and metal detecting and with my rank, and so it kind of all played out perfectly. And that guy's amazing on doing logos. So
yeah, send me his info. I need to get
okay. All right.
DDB is just not enough.
No, I want something flashy, man, flashy.
All right, so I'll start with the first basic metal detecting question. When did you start metal detecting, and what was your first find, if you could remember?
Okay. This is actually going to be a pretty shocker, but I bought a bounty hunter, as most people do, from local Radio Shack and around the, at the time was Camp Pendleton, California. So probably Fallbrook or somewhere in that area. Went out to the Radio Shack, picked me up a bounty hunter, and went out to the beach thinking I was going to find all kinds of stuff. And of course, anyone knows bounty hunters and saltwater don't do very well together. So stuck to the dry sand a little bit, found a few coins here and there, never really hit nothing good. And Camp Pendleton is pretty old. I mean, it dates back to probably the early 1900s. And where my camp was, which was more of the northern part, there's a park just right down the camp from there. And I went to the old park. They actually dug a Whitey down there. And I came back up to my comm shop, and there's a volleyball pit right below my comm shop. And so I went down there and hit the volleyball pit. And I still have the coin. I don't have the ring, but I dug a 1936 Mexican peso and a silver man's ring in the same hole where the two posts are. Right off to the side where the net was, there was a post, and the thing was probably 8-9 inches down. I dug 2 silver items with that bounty hunter, and I've been hooked pretty much ever since. Didn't get out and do it hot and heavy like I wanted to back in 94 to 98 active duty, and then 98 to present until 2016 is when I really started getting into it hot and heavy. So
that's great. That's a good story. Real good story.
What made you get into it in 2016?
Well, I've always had a passion for it, and I unfortunately met a woman that liked to control things, and so I never got a chance to go out and detect. I actually had the MXT All Pro and probably used it 15 times. And wow. I sold it when I got, and I was married to her for almost 5 years. So I sold it when I got to North Carolina and picked up the White's MX Sport, and it's been an amazing machine. So.
Cool. All right. So, all right. So I guess for you've been doing your YouTube channel here for 9 months, but obviously you've been you've been detecting for a lot longer. What made you decide to start YouTube? And
well, I started doing a lot of live videos, and I spoke to Heath Jones, and he said, "Man, you need to start taking videos and doing YouTube." And I was like, "Well, I mean, a lot of people like the in the action, in the moment type finds, and a lot of people, not saying that they don't like YouTube videos, but there's a lot of critiquing and a lot of stuff going into YouTube. They're like, oh, that's staged, oh, that's planted, oh, that's fake, and all this stuff." And if I go live and it's in the hole, I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, you can see the hole, you can see the item, you can tell it came from that spot. I try to take a photo. When I take it, I try to take it as if I'm pulling it off the sidewall, if it's a coin or a button of some sort, and I can get the imprint of it being in the dirt. I mean, I want it as authentic as possible. And I stick to my guns with the live video. And I haven't done as much lately because I have been taking a lot of little short videos of finds that I've been digging lately, getting ready to start doing a couple more YouTube videos. I needed some material basically. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing, is gathering a bunch of material to do a couple more within a couple of weeks, do back to back maybe videos to kind of get them back out there. But Heath Jones is basically who, to answer the question, Heath Jones is basically who pushed me over the hill to start doing the YouTube. So I reached out to a guy out in Nashville who wrote me a song for my YouTube channel. And so that was one thing I wanted, because I got so sick and tired of not being able to use a style of music that I wanted to use that kept getting blocked or deleted off of Facebook because of licensing and stuff. So I was like, well, shoot, I'll just go pay get my own song, and then I ain't got to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was one of my questions tonight, was about that song, but how did that come about? Man, that song is amazing. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, he did really, really well on it. I sent him some terminology of metal detecting. He actually wrote the first verse. I steered the second verse, which is the foggy field and the bloodshed and all that stuff. I had that in vision because that's, if I ever get to go meet him again in Nashville, he's got a camera guy that he's going to actually do a video for that song. I just haven't had a chance to make it back to Nashville to get an official video with that song yet. But there's going to be a lot of in play of, I'm going to try to find some local militia Civil War reenactments or something like that, actors out there, and try to use them in a field and recreate what my vision is. So.
Well, we know where you can go for that reenactment piece of the video, right, Jolene?
What?
Oh, come on, man! It was right up your alley.
What reenactment video? What he's talking Civil War, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's true. All right. So on to the next question.
World War II.
Yeah,
There's a big difference there, brother. Big difference.
Yeah, but you could hook a brother up, right?
Well, it could actually be. I mean, it could be a variation of Rev War, Civil War, World War One, Two, whatever.
Time,
yeah.
Well, I know there's a Hale Farm in Akron, Ohio. They have a huge Civil War reenactment every year.
Okay.
But I'm sure you're down in the South. I'm sure they have them there.
Oh
right?
yeah, there's some here, but I'm trying to find somebody in Nashville. If I'm making a trip to Nashville, I want to get and hook up with somebody over there that already has a group over there that already does it, if I can, and try to get access to some of the battlefields to do the
awesome.
video in.
was that a friend of yours that helped you film that video, or the footage for the video?
Luke. Yeah, I had a friend that helped me do the drone and all that stuff. He had the drone stuff and he helped me do that part of it. And then I went and edited some parts into it and added I don't know if you remember seeing the background ghostly scene of the troops. I added that to his video just to kind of give it some pop and stuff, and the flying eagle and all that thing. So I spiced his video up a little bit and then put it in. But he already had it to the song, but I added some other things to it.
Yeah, those are the goosebump scenes. You're watching it, it's like, oh, is that proud to be American song part coming in? Yeah. Great job, it really is.
Thank you. Thank you.
So congratulations on your Connecticut copper you found the other day.
Dude, I still cannot believe that.
That is on my bucket list.
I drove an hour away to come home to find out it was a Connecticut copper. I had no clue that it was. I thought it was just a matron head at the most, Never expected a state copper at all.
So it's the one thing that I really like about you and watching your lives on Facebook and just following you on Facebook is you take your kid out.
Oh yeah.
I think that's amazing. Private Pup is always by your side, usually most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. What is he swinging? What is
he has the White Six Venture right now. Okay. He's always joking, or he goes, yeah, when I get on the field team, his wife's going to send me an MX Sport.
Now, speaking of that, how long have you been on the Whites?
A little over a year now. I just signed the second contract, so it's been a little over a year.
Now, any news on them coming out with a new detector?
There is one in the works. I can't go into a lot of details yet, obviously, because of contractual stuff, but there is a good machine coming out very soon. Good. We're hoping. The virus definitely put a hold on it, unfortunately, but it was in the works.
Oh, that's awesome.
Advanced as in higher price end machine, or do you think more for get people hooked?
You'll be hooked. I can't wait to get my hands on this. If there's one machine that's going to make me put my sport down for a little while, it could be this one. Let's just say that. And I'm very comfortable with my sport. So
well, and because like I had a discussion the other night with a couple of people. Like it seems like metal detecting companies now are bringing out, the Simplex, the Vanquish, more entry level machines. Do you see White's bringing out an entry level machine? Because other machines are kind of pricey in some way.
They pretty much have entry level. You have your MX7, which is a non-waterproof version. It's water resistant of the MX Sport. So in a way, that can be technically an entry level machine. It's got the exact same technology as MX Sport, and once you set it up, it's a it's a turn on and go once you've got it set up. And so, and there's a couple of machines below that one that are still in the price range of someone in a $200 to $500 range easy.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because usually when people ask on Facebook, hey, what's a good starter? I don't, I want to be able. I'll have to get the knowledge on whites too, because right now it's like simplex. I mean, that's what it is. Just because they're flooding the market right now with that, and then who knows what Garrett's going to come out with? We'll find out next month. But
Apex.
Well, yeah, but what is it going to be? Is it going to be a Nox Slayer, or is it going to be something more like the simplex?
So did you see that?
I did.
Nancy, I'll let you go. Go ahead, Nancy.
Victory Metal Detecting, which I'm sure is a friend of yours, is asking you, Shawn, are you still going to be on the History Channel?
I'm working on it. I've interviewed a couple of times. I've been in work. I've actually was just talking to Gary Drayton on Instant Messenger. I've been swung with him not too long ago, and he and I we exchanged messages every now and then. I sent him the Connecticut copper that I found yesterday, and he goes, nothing wrong with finding 1700s copper. His terminology, so cracked me up. But
are you going to Oak Island?
I don't know if I was going up there.
No.
It's too cold up there. But no, I did a couple of interviews, and so I'm kind of waiting that. I think the virus thing probably put a hold on a lot of things with production on different things or whatever. So we'll see. If it happens, it happens. If it does, I don't care. Worth a shot.
Yeah, I wish you the best with that. That sounds fabulous. And we need more things like this to be on.
Oh yeah.
Fresher, newer ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
So go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say I like to try to pitch a thing with me and Private Pup. That's what I was telling the last guy I talked to with the History Channel. I was like, we have a song. My son metal detects with me, and he likes to get out there and find stuff. So just trying to shoot it around the thing out there, and even if it's tied into something else, and that's a lot of the things is it's not just straight metal detecting. It's usually tied in, like with the Oak Island situation where Gary comes in and metal detects piles of dirt that gets pulled up. That's kind of where a lot of people are looking for that are looking for a person that metal detects. They're not looking for just strictly metal detecting the entire time. And so the days of KG and Ringy or Aqua Chigger of just solo metal detecting and that's all it is kind of not really there anymore. It's more of a combined 3 to 4 to 5 things in one show. So from what I'm being told by the guy that I talked to.
So have you always been into history before, or is now metal detecting has brought you into the history side of it?
Well, in some of my other interviews, I've mentioned my great grandfather who was a treasure hunter out in Texas, but he would go out to like Arizona and Colorado and California and places, and he'd look for them legendary type treasures and stuff. And I think he passed away when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, but my grandma used to always tell me stories about him. And so I was always intrigued, what would he have found if he'd have had, a GMX or a gold metal detecting machine or something like that, instead of just going out there panning. Nothing wrong with panning, but there are other stuff out there that you can get to with a machine that you can't get to by panning. And so I wish I had some of his documentation, some of his maps, some of his where he went, what he found, and I don't have any of that information, unfortunately. But it always inspired me to maybe be a history type seeker or treasure hunter or something like that. And I've always enjoyed or wanted to get into metal detecting more. And I wish I was in a position back in like 98, whenever it was kind of like the heydays period of going out and digging Civil War stuff. I mean, people were coming back with bucket loads of bullets in the 90s, early 90s and late 90s. So if only I could go back to those days, but I get happy with a 5 or 6 bullet day. So
that's still a great day.
Oh yeah, totally. I've gone out and only dug one, so at least I didn't get skunked.
So you're more of a relic guy than a coin shooter, or do you like
I do a little bit of everything, honestly. I'll do coin and jewelry. I do relics. I'm going from Rev War to Colonial to Civil War to, I'll go to Germany in a heartbeat. I'll go to UK in a heartbeat to dig, World War I or II or middle age or whatever it is. I don't even know what they call it, the Templar type age or whatever, the early age stuff that we can't get in the States, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd love to dig something older than colonial. That would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So like
Shawn, when you're on
Yes,
military bases,
Mhm.
how picky are they for detecting?
Well, in 90, what would that have been, about 95, 96 time frame, nobody, I mean, I was way up north. I wasn't close to main side. There was only 3 outer camps where I was at. There was Camp Horno, Camp Talega, and Camp Pogus. Camp Talega was actually in that Clint Eastwood movie, Hamburger Hill, with the Quonset huts. I was 2 camps away from that. In fact, we used to go up there a lot because we were only 5 miles away from that camp. And the park was just down from there. But as far as going anywhere else on aboard Camp Pendleton itself or any other base, I've never been. That was the only one. And like I said, no MPs, nothing ever stopped us because there was no MPs up there. They were up at the gate, but not around the camp where we were at. But they didn't, as far as I know, it wasn't against the base rules. And if it was, I had no clue at that time. So
I just always wondered about that. I used to be a long time ago in the military, but I wasn't into detecting back then.
Yeah, I was just getting started, unfortunately. Oh, I'd love to go back to Camp Pendleton and or even some of these older bases or forts or camps or something and go find some stuff out there that has never been touched. So I do have a buddy of mine that's in the Marine Corps and he's down in Florida, and he aboard his base is an old I don't know if it's pre or post Civil War, but he's found a lot of buttons and like Civil War type related looking buttons in his area, and it's on the base, and he hasn't had any problems metal detecting it. So he hasn't been told not to or anything.
that's cool.
We do have another question in the chat from Victory Metal Detecting. The one to know for, and I just lost it. Everybody check it. He's like, do you have any tips on how to metal detector in this shutdown?
I try to hit my fields that I've got for right now before the farmers start planting. They've already plowed it up and made rows, so we're very cautious on where we go now. And then I've got a couple of wood spots that I go to. But as far as door knocking right now, I've got a couple of permissions that I can just call them up and say, hey, can I come? And they're okay with it. But as far as new door knocking it right now, I've tried to steer away from it. One of my last permissions that I did get during the shutdown, a guy was mowing his backyard, and I had actually had that permission before he bought it. And I had found a North Carolina state seal button in the front yard. And I always wanted to hit the backyard, and I never got a chance to because the grass was always 4 to 8, or actually about 5 to 8 inches tall. It never was kept up. And I saw him back there mowing it, and he was the new owner. And so I pulled in and kind of walked up and stayed about 10 feet from him. And he came up with his lawnmower, turned it off, and we chatted for a while. And I just said, hey, I had this property before you bought it, and I never had a chance to detect the back. And I see you're mowing it. Do you mind if I swing around? I said, I found a Civil War button in the front yard by the oak tree. And at first he didn't want me to. He's like, nah, I don't think so. Because if I let you do it, then everybody else is going to want to do it. And I said, honestly, people know me in this area, so I can assure you that if I've got this permission and you tell them that I have it, they'll move on. They know who I am. And sure enough, the second day I went out there, I found the South Carolina, my first one, button in the backyard. So, and it had the shank and everything. I found a silver ring up by the fence, and I found a few odds and ends, nothing really spectacular like I was hoping to dig back there. And I did dig a bullet. I dug a wormed bullet, also Civil War bullet. So I dug 3 Civil War artifacts in that 1 yard.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just a 1930s house, and it's only 5 to 10 miles from my house, and it's just crazy.
So would you say that you are, I know that you'll do fields in your woods, but you really are a good door knocker, kind of permission getting?
That has been my forte, is straight just going up to a house with my son or myself or with another guy that I detect with and just knocking on the door. I mean, a lot of people are very hesitant on knocking on someone's door. And I just like, look, they're going to tell you yes or no. Every now and then you're going to get a rude person. Every now and then you're going to get a crazy person. But those are very far and few between when it comes to getting a true yes or a true no, or not right now, but let me get back with you. I've had a couple of those, and some of them have actually called me back. I mean, but usually if I get a wife that says, let me ask my husband, I'm usually like, okay, I'm going to try to come back by when I see him outside and ask him directly, because 90% of the time, either the wife doesn't tell or the husband didn't know what the heck was even going on. And was like, I'm not going to call this guy up for to come in my yard when I'm not here. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, but who's going to say no to private pup? Come on now.
I've actually had a couple. So
Oh, I'm surprised. He's a cutie.
Not very many. Yeah. And Kai's always excited too. He's like, did they say yes? And I said, no, baby, not this time. He's like, oh man. And they hear it. So I'm kind of like, sometimes I wanted to play like on their heartstrings, like, man, little kid is all bummed, you know, but it's worked one time, but they said, oh, go ahead. He seems like he wants to do it. And I said, really? And I said, Kai, you better go give them a big hug. And he'll go up and give like the old man a high five or the lady a hug or something like that. And so I just try to teach him respect and teach him how to, you know, always talk to the homeowner as if they're your parents or grandparents. And you just, you know, if they give you permission, you be very grateful and you just be very respectful, and we go out there and have fun. So
now, are you you went to Pound the Ground last year, right?
Yes.
Are you planning on going to dig stock if it happens?
As of right now, White's is sending a few of us up there if it still goes, like you said. I'd like to go, but we'll see what happens. I'm in the middle of a custody battle actually right now with my son. So I know we got court in July and then possibly something maybe in September as of right now, but hopefully I'll be able to go.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Everybody can meet up.
Now,
I got to reply to work. Hang on just a second.
Oh, that's all
Are you
right.
good?
So as you type away to work, yeah. So like this is usually Rachel's question, so I'm gonna let Rachel ask it.
Okay, I'm back.
It's become your question, Rachel.
Yeah,
I guess so. You guys waited last week for me for to say it. So everybody has bucket listers, you know, stuff you know eventually you'll find and you just can't wait to find it. But what is your white whale?
I've dug, God, I had so many coming into this year, and I've already dug probably 6 of them already that I can think of right now. My biggest one was probably the half dime, and I just dug the seeded not too long ago. I'd probably say a gold coin is still at the top. The more probably of getting one would probably be a breastplate maybe, or like a CS tongue or something like that, something that's more obtainable in this area.
that's interesting because you bring up a good point. A lot of people in the chat will hear, you know, us in Ohio find a lot of large cents, and you guys find a ton of Civil War stuff. A lot of beginners don't realize that location really dictates what you find in the ground, and it's good to remember, or at least remind people who are just starting out detecting. Yeah, you know that.
But I tell everybody when they say what's a good place to go, I was like, don't shun the 1950s and 40s houses. Yep. I said I just dug a 1930s house and dug 3 Civil War artifacts out of it. So I mean, you never know what you're going to dig up until you start swinging. So
that's what I tell people. You know, just because the house might be mid-century, the property's older than that.
Yep.
Plus, you're going to dig a lot of trash too.
Definitely a lot of trash.
I try not to get anything past 1950-ish because it does get a little more trashy in a sense of the aluminum and less, you know, cool finds. You know, I'm a silver buff. I love digging my silver. And
what's your number? What are you up to this year?
I'm stuck at 25. I just hit 25 yesterday. So, or day before yesterday, whenever it was, when I got the large cent.
Yeah, just at 25.
Only 25.
This time, I think this time last year I already had 50, or 2 years ago I already had 50. So I'm half of where I was last year. So I'm a little behind. But I actually dug a lot more bucket listers, I guess, if that makes sense, than my silver coins. So I guess it balances out in the long run.
Because I noticed you've been digging a lot more Civil War this year too.
Yeah, I do have one site that hasn't been very productive. And on my birthday of all times, I dig 3 Mercuries back at a colonial site that me and at least 5 other guys have been back there. And I cannot believe those Mercuries were sitting there. As I'm walking out, I actually had my machine off. I'm walking out and I said, I'm going to turn it on just for a second. I literally took 4 steps and dug a Williams cleaner.
Yeah.
Could not believe it. So me and another guy went back the next day. We both dug 7 bullets out of there. I went back solo the next day after that, dug 12. And then I took the same guy back and another guy, Tyler and Carl. I took them both at the same time. And I think I dug 3, Tyler dug 6 or 7, and Carl dug a couple, plus he dug a spur that was made out of a half cent that someone had made into a half cent.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, he actually dug that in a spot that I know I'd never even came close to going over by, because it's just so sporadic, and I almost hate going there sometimes, because it's like I may find one bullet and I may not find anything else the rest of the day, and then I'll hit a hot spot. And so I took 2 guys there, and I almost didn't get a chance to go because I was actually had stayed up till I worked nights 7 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was on a call till about 4 a.m. and that alarm went off at 7 o'clock because we were going to get together at 7:30, and I almost canceled because I was like, I don't know if I can get out of bed. I didn't feel like walking in the woods, but I ended up getting myself up and I was committed to going. And so we got out there for a couple hours and we ended up not killing it, but none of us came back empty handed. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the longest you ever spent out detecting in one day?
Before I got private pup 2 years ago in April, I'd leave the house at 3 a.m., drive 4 or 5 hours to a spot either in Virginia or South Carolina with other fellow detectorists, detect all day long, and then drive 4 or 5 hours back. So you're looking at 18 hours on the road and or detecting or more.
Impressive.
So we've asked a lot of people, and I'll ask you the same question. If you could detect in one place that was either legal or illegal to detect, where would be that spot for you to swing?
Civil War wise would probably be like Gettysburg or something like that, some major Civil War conflict battleground. Something overseas would be, I'd love to hit something that is so protected over, like in the UK, for instance, that nobody's detected it, and there's no telling what age range of artifacts or jewels or jewelry or coins or whatever could be out there.
That's cool. We've heard from some other people the White House lawn. We've heard the Alamo. We've heard things like that.
Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
I actually jokingly said I should send President Trump a message somehow and ask if he'll let Private Pup metal detect, since he let that kid mow. I was like, well, shoot, maybe Private Pup can go up there and metal detect the White House yard.
Yeah, imagine what's there. Oh,
yeah.
Send it off.
Yeah.
Ask.
Yeah, that would be a cool video.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be.
Probably not a whole lot of trash there either.
No. I just wonder how many times they've resodded it, though, is the only problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if there was trash, you got to think to yourself, who was the person who used that? That would be so interesting.
Yep.
You know? Oh man. So what's the most amount of silver in a year you have gotten?
The 1 year I almost hit 100 coin wise, because I don't count jewelry and other silver items. I count just strictly coins, and I do jewelry separate. I think I hit 90 even, something like that. And if I'd have hit the 1930s house that was next door to the last house I detected, I would have probably pushed over and hit 100, because I took a guy and we both together combined dug 12 silver coins. I dug my first Boy Scout silver ring. He dug a silver earring. I actually it was crazy because I had got the silver ring and I went to put my machine down and my coil went over another high tone, and I popped both plugs live video, and I had a quarter in the second hole and a Boy Scout ring in the first hole.
It's awesome. That's great. It's great.
If of all the detectorists and treasure seekers and gold diggers and bottle diggers, all out of everybody, who would you most want to spend a day side by side treasure seeking with?
Man, I've swung with a lot of people too.
Who you
DJ
have?
Dowling up in Canada, he and I we've had a pretty good relationship online, and I've always wanted to meet him and go up there and dig some Canadian silver or something like that. But that would be cool.
So this will probably be a good time to let everybody know, if you're watching in the chat, we do something called an after party. In about 20 minutes or so, we'll post the link for you guys to all be a part of the after party. And Shawn, we understand that you cannot be with us.
Actually, I can. The guy took my other call, so I'm good tonight.
Oh,
He just
good.
that's what I was responding to.
Awesome.
He
awesome.
said, he goes, hey, since you took the call last night, do you mind if you want me to take it tonight? I said, sure, knock yourself out.
Now, what do you do, Shawn? I know you've told me before.
I did work for Verizon. I did a lot of their backbone fiber optic, router to router fiber optic install, built their backbone network is what it's called. Now I don't know if anybody knows who Nortel or Sienna is, but that's a form of ultra long haul equipment, fiber optic wise. And Sienna has subcontracted NCR, who I work for, to help maintain they're called a 6500 system with Sienna that AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon all use. So I'm a level 2 specialist, so I help we call them customer engineers or field technicians. They'll be on the phone with us, and I show them how to do their job. Basically, I teach them how to clean and scope fiber, how to shoot a test of fiber span between 2 cities and stuff like that. So.
No, that's awesome. Because I knew you got a new job and you were traveling more. So.
Well, I was, and then that got shut down because of my son. I basically told him, I was like, look, I'll have to quit, and if you guys need me to keep traveling, I'm not gonna be able to do this.
Yeah.
And so they found a level 2 spot instead of, I was actually a CE an equivalent. I was actually installing the 6500s, and now I'm able to be at the comforts of my house and in my office and teach people how to do it over the phone now. I don't have to travel.
Why not?
Yep.
So what's your responsibilities as a representative for whites?
I mean, pretty much as anybody else would expect, is I'm very respectful to, the populace. I don't get into, I used to always joke around before I even made the field team about different machines. And I joke with my buddies who swing Garrett's and Mind Lab and stuff. But I quit doing that once I made the field team, because I realized you got to be an ambassador to the hobby, not just, I am brand loyal, yes, not only because of my contract, but I'm also brand loyal because I love and respect White's Electronics. I love the company. I love what they stand for. They're military oriented. They're just made in America. I mean, it's hard to beat. But as far as that goes, I chose probably about a year-ish, maybe a year and a half ago, just to not get into debates about Garrett being better than Mind Lab or Mind Lab being better than Deus or whatever, because it's just, to me, it doesn't matter what machine you swing in all reels, because if you're learning your machine and you're taking the time, not just jumping on the bandwagon of the new hottest machine that came out, but you're taking the time to learn the machine, you're going to find exactly what somebody else is going to find that's been stuck with a Garrett AT Pro or a White's MX Sports or a V3i or a Deus or a 3030, whatever the case is. You're going to find it if you take the time to learn your machine. When I say dig it all and save some history, if you saw the back of my truck whenever I'm digging a lot of stuff, I mean, I dig a lot of trash to get to what I get. So.
Sounds like my car.
What with this coronavirus issue going on, what do you think about this social distancing? I know you're still detecting, but do you see any issues with people who are detecting? I think there's two sides to it, depending upon where you live. Obviously, we have some people in here from Jersey and New York who aren't going to leave their home. And me, where I'm in Ohio, and I'm okay leaving and going down the street and detecting. What do you think is going to happen? What's going on? What are your opinion, your thoughts about this in respect to the hobby?
Yeah. Of course, I'm no doctor. I don't know all the ins and outs I know how to be safe. I know how to stay away from things. I know you can't predict stopping at a gas station and touching a gas pump, and chances are you can get it or something like that. But that's why I don't door knock right now. I'm staying in my fields. I'm staying as long as I can. I'm staying in my woods. I'm staying at house sites that I know already have permission to, that I don't even go to the door. I just give them a call, say, hey, do you mind if I stop by? Or I'll let them know I'm in there, because I have a few sites I can just pull up anytime I want to. But with the virus, I've actually called them and say, hey, I normally don't call you. I normally just show up, but under being considerate with the virus. How do you feel about me being in the yard right now based on everything? If you're okay with it, then I just want to get your blessing, or tell me to wait till this thing's over with. And I haven't had anybody push back. I mean, everybody's been like, oh yeah, go ahead, you know. And so I'm not concerned. Yes, I understand a lot of people should be and are concerned, but I mean, I do my thing. I live my life, and if I get it, I get it, I guess. But I'm not exposing myself into areas where I'm not going to the grocery stores and hanging out, or I'm not going to places where a lot of people are hanging out. I'm not being, in large groups or nothing like that. It's usually 1 or 2 people, and we normally stay about 8 to 10, 15 feet apart. I mean, so.
Yeah, I think it's the way that it comes across in a matter of respect and consideration, instead of being in someone's face one way or the other. I think it's just how it comes across. So I agree with you.
Well, and that's why I'm not door knocking. I could door knock. I could knock on the door and step back into the yard. And I do that already, especially like I got one permission, and it was so crazy because I never even thought about it, because I just do it naturally. When I knock on someone's door, I don't crowd the door. I back off. Well, the husband was out in the garage, and I didn't see him, but the wife answered the door, and I knocked on the door, and they had probably a 10 or 15 foot deck between the steps up to the door. I knocked on the door and walked all the way back to the steps just to give her space, so that she knew I wasn't going to try to barge into the house and, attack her or something like that. And I didn't even think about it. And she goes in front of her husband, she goes, I just want to tell you, I really appreciate what you did. And I'm like, what did I do? She goes, you stepped back away from the door. You didn't crowd the door. And she goes, you made me feel very comfortable when you came to my door, that you weren't going to do anything. By the way, you could just tell your body language that you stepped back, gave me the respect, gave me the distance. And this was way before coronavirus. And that's how, when I knock on the door, I knock on the door, but I step back. I don't sit there right at the door. The only time I go back up to the door is when I'm handing them my metal detecting card that shows my information and stuff. And I'll just say, and there's been a few times where a woman has answered the door and they didn't want to open the door. And I was like, I'm just going to leave this here. You're welcome to pick it up anytime you want. This is my contact information. If you change your mind, please call me back, and I won't bother you. I'm just going to leave it right here for you can check me out. You can call White's Electronics if you want to. You can do whatever just to prove who I am. So.
So when you're detecting private property on a permission that you have, do you offer any of your fines to the homeowners?
I do it. Yeah, I do it all the time. I have this Ballantine dairy farm that literally is probably 4 miles down the road. And I have given the only two things that one thing that they wanted, and two things that I gave back. I gave the daughter of the lady who just passed away, because the homeowner, the property owner just passed away, but her daughter and son-in-law and their kid lives there. And I had dug my first dairy tag. I've never dug a cow tag. It's an aluminum cow. It has a number on it and everything. Well, it used to be a dairy farm. Now it's not. Now it's a horse training ranch. And she said, do you mind if I have that cow tag? She goes, I'd like to hang it up in my son's nursery. I said, oh yeah, absolutely. So I handed it to him, and I've got 2 cases over there of stuff that I've dug just from that property. The other item was 2 little silver pieces that were, they were less than probably not even an inch long on both of them. And they had 3 initials on each one of them. One of them was MLB, and the other one was E something. I'd have to get the photo to remember. But the MLB was an actual Ballantine. It was the lady who passed away. It was her aunt. And she said she never had kids and she never got married. So the only thing that I can think of is that she had a suitor, and they must have broke up, and she must have tossed that out in the yard or threw it away. I don't know what happened, but there was 2 pieces of it, and looked like there might have been more. But I put it in a little plastic container with the foam in it, and I put them both side by side, and I gave it to the mother. And then the other item that I had already found, and I was trying to get it fixed, and sadly she passed away before I could get it fixed and give it back to her, was a silver cross. That it was one of the sideway crosses. The daughter who lives there had taken it when she was younger and borrowed it and lost it, and I found it, and she told me just to keep it. But then she talked to her mom, and her mom said she wanted it. Well, I was going to fix it for her, fix the link that was broken, and I was going to give it back to her. So I actually went to the lady's funeral, and I presented it to the daughter. I was like, I'm sorry I didn't give this to your mom, but I think this is the best time to give it to you at her funeral under the circumstances, and I wanted you to have a piece of your mother back. And so I handed it to her, and she started crying and gave me a big hug.
Wow, that's really
Awesome.
touching.
That's what it's all
She
about.
just said, and she said, that is so fitting on today that you gave me a cross on her, basically her celebration of her death. So
That's awesome. What I find most homeowners want are pocket knives. I don't get it. But when I show somebody a pocket knife, they're like, "Oh, can I have it?" Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
yeah,
I don't, maybe the personal aspect of it or what, but
I've only had a couple of items that I had. Me and another guy metal detected 1 yard, and we didn't find hardly anything. I think I had one flat button, one Indian head penny, a couple of Wheaties, and I think a D buckle or something. And I forgot what he found. The homeowner wanted it all, even the clad. I was like, here, I don't even care, whatever.
Ours,
So,
for some reason, wanted the spoons we found, or anything that we found.
wow, I got a whole case of them. I can take those women and just trade them off.
We didn't find much, but they were like, "Oh, I'll keep the spoon." Okay.
Okay.
you know, but what I get told a lot, like when I'm doing houses and stuff like that, I'm like, "Hey, do you want anything?" They're like, "You're the one that bought the detector. You're the one that you know had enough nerve to come up and knock. Go ahead and keep everything." You know?
Like I said, it's very, very rare that I've had anybody, and I usually try to ask at the beginning, you know, if I find anything, like if it's a historical house, I'll automatically say, if I find anything that ties back to the house, I'm willing to give it up, no questions asked. And I actually, the house that I dug a silver spoon that's got a B on it, and it dates to the guy who built the house. And the guy that lives in it now just sold it. He's actually moving out Friday. And I asked him if he wanted it. And he said, no. He goes, you keep it in your collection. He goes, I'm moving out of this house. The homeowner, I'm not even going to tell the new homeowner that you even got it. He goes, as far as I'm concerned, you know, this is your hobby, your passion. And I know it's going to be in good hands with you than sticking in a drawer in our house. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, your finds, how do you keep them? Do you display them? Do you, save store?
I'm not where I want to be yet. I had found a couple of cases that I was going to try to get to put in my office, and some I was going to put my good stuff in my office, and my iron or big brassy stuff that's not, pricey or whatever the case is, put it in we've got a 3-car garage, so I've got the one whole side with all my detectors on the wall and everything. So I thought about putting some cases in my garage over there, so where when I do have people come over, they can look at non-precious items like bullets and stuff like that kind of out there, and then have my more pricey stuff, buttons and plates and things like that in the house. That's more, as I've got cases that I put stuff in, but I've got a lot of stuff that I got to figure out what to do with it.
So what are some of your son's best finds?
At that Ballantyne farm, he actually dug a 1956 Rosie dime, his first silver dime with his X-Venture. So we did a live video of it, and he was super excited. He made American Digger magazine with it too. So.
That's
so nice.
awesome. That's great. That's great. All right.
He likes to go out like in the fields like we did the other day. He loves to find marbles. He'll be running all over the place looking for marbles, trying to beat me to them, so.
It is a good bonding experience between father and son.
I mean, he's only 7, so his attention span with true metal detecting is about 20 minutes, and then he's ready just to go play with rocks and look for arrowheads and marbles and stuff. So.
Well, I look up to you because that's how I got started. I bought my son a metal detector, and I ended up stealing it because he lost interest.
Yeah.
So if I would have never done that, I probably would have never gotten in the hobby at all.
Yep.
Well, my daughter will be 18 on Saturday, and she's got maybe 20 minutes of attention span with it too. So,
hey, she did find a seated dime the other day. So.
She did find a seated dime. Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool.
That was her first silver, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got about 10 more minutes, and a reminder to people who are just showing up in the chat, we have some new people and new names that I haven't seen. We do an after party where you can come on, click a link, and be a part of our Zoom after party. It looks just like this. We sit, we chat. Joel does cool stuff, and but you won't be live streamed onto YouTube. So if you want to be a part of our after party, I'll go ahead and post that link here in about 8 minutes, and we'll have some fun. Wednesday
Awesome.
night. So right now we have about 30 people watching live. So we can have up to 100 people in our after party if that's the way you want to do it. But all right, any other questions for Shawn?
One of them I had is about coils. What is your favorite coils that you're using? Because
well, that's a funny question because I loved the 7-inch double D for the sport, and then I got the big Kahuna, which is a 12x15 butterfly coil, and it's got a wider detection span. And I've loved it because I've dug so many on edge coins because it hits harder on an edge than a real thin coil like the double D 7, 9.5, and 13 does. The butterfly one with that wider detection span gives me an extra 2 inches total, 1 inch on each side of the normal detection span. And I've found a lot of stuff, even in trashy areas I've used it, and I've been shocked at what I found. Now I know I've probably walked over things, and I try to go back over with a 7-inch double D to kind of get in between things. But that last day I went out, I've used the stock coil the other day when I found those 12 Civil War bullets in one day, and I was very impressed at how it performed. I needed something that wasn't too small, and I needed something that wasn't too big because of how wooded and viney and just broken limbs all over the place. And that I was actually shocked. I haven't really put the time in just the stock coil. And I messaged DJ Yost and I said, dude, this stock coil is badass. Sorry to cuss, but I was like, I couldn't believe the things it was hitting. And DJ goes, yeah, he goes, that thing hits hard on like silver and brass. And I said, yeah, it does. It did because the bullets were loud and clear. There was no falsing. It was just, so I pretty much use every coil that I've got. It just depends on where I'm at.
Yeah, that's badass detecting right there.
that is. Oh, that big Kahuna. I mean, the weight of that must be.
I'm actually used to it.
Swinging that.
If I'm not stopping to dig, it gets tiring. If I'm going for 20, 30, 40 feet at back to back to back without finding anything or taking a break, then it does. I can feel the weight on it eventually, but I pretty much can swing that thing all day.
And you're still using the MX Sport?
Yes.
Right. So Finders Keepers, I think, wanted to know. I think it's with you what machine you're using, and it's the MX Sport. I actually had the MXT, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was a very deep machine. I had the SCF coil for it, and I loved it. It was a phenomenal machine. And like some other people, I just went from that machine to the E-Track, and I still kept it for a little bit, then sold it, and just played around. But it's great machine. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked. The 9.5-inch coil pulled a Williams cleaner at about 10 inches down with sensitivity at 6, and my threshold at about 3 or 4 is what I usually run because I don't max out my sensitivity because it'll give me a lot of falsing and stuff. And so I bump up my threshold to counteract that depth wise. So I'll get that extra depth. And Heath Jones actually taught me that because I was running, I couldn't stand to hear the hum and I couldn't stand to hear the grunt of the iron. So I had my reject volume. I don't know if anybody knows the Sport settings, but the Sport has a reject volume setting. And I usually bump it up to 10 just to hear a really fine, faint grunt, especially out where I'm at. I want to hear those iron patches because that's usually a hut or a rifle pit. And so I'll hit those iron spots and then I'll try to slow down a little bit and catch a piece of lead or like a bullet or camp lead or a percussion cap in that spot because that's where they had a campfire and that's where they threw all their trash at. But the 9.5 was very impressive on the depth, even with sensitivity at 6. And I would bump it up to about 7 or 8 every now and then in wide open spots just to try to pull something. And I actually dug one of my bullets was about 10 inches down and I could hear it just as clear as day. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never used the White's machine. That will have to be my next for sure.
I had an
I want to try them all.
Yeah, each is to their own, and like I said, I've done. Tyler McGee is a very, very good AT Pro person. He can find anything with an AT Pro, and that's pretty much what it boils down to. He knows his machine as good as I know my MX Sport. I mean, that's about how I can compare it, and he takes the time to learn it, and I've taken my time to learn mine. So,
what'd you say, Dave?
Oh, I had a White's M6.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. And that was kind of like the MXT a little bit.
Just I have a Whites.
What?
Coin Master.
There you go. That's my Whites. See, I do own a Whites.
You should try and go out with that and find something.
If I could find a battery for it, I would. I can't find a battery for it.
Yeah.
I would use it. I would really try to learn to use the thing.
Yeah.
1979.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sweet.
That would be a lot of fun. All right. Any other questions for Shawn? Shawn, do you have any other stories that you'd like to share? Anything that was really cool that you found, or any weird things that have happened?
Well, I'll if I have time for two stories, I'll do one. I did dig over in the Apex area. There was a little old lady, and her husband had passed away about 4 years ago, but her husband had lost a Masonic ring about 6 years ago. And around here, they have in neighborhoods, they have a place where you can stack up leaves and limbs, and a guy will come by in a truck, kind of like a trash truck, and suck up the leaves and the branches and stuff. Well, he was doing yard work and moving all that stuff over by that spot, and I guess he lost one of his Masonic rings out there. And I had gotten the permission with Private Pup. A storm was coming in, so we didn't get to detect the first day. And I knocked on the door and I said, hello. I said, we're going to leave because there's lightning coming in. I don't want to get struck by lightning. And I said, do you mind if I come back another day? And she goes, oh yeah, absolutely. She goes, maybe you can find my husband's Masonic ring. He lost it about 3 years ago. I said, oh yeah, I'd love to. It took me 3 more times going there, and I finally found it. And the crazy thing is I was using the 13-inch coil. I blocked everything out except for probably VDI 40 down to VDI 20 or 15, somewhere in that range. I wasn't digging anything else. I wasn't looking for anything else. And I had taken a break about 4 feet away from the street where he had been piling up that stuff. And I literally set my coil down, and I went to barely move it, and I got a VDI 24, and I was like, well, I'll pop this pull tab out. I popped it out, and I could see the bottom part of the gold ring on there. So I ran up to the house and got Miss Keith, and I said, hey, Miss Keith, if you're not busy, you might want to come see what I found. And as we were walking, I have to take her pace. We were probably 45 yards away from the door. And as we're walking, I said, do you mind if I do a Facebook Live video? And she said, oh, no, go ahead. And so I went live and told everybody what was going on. And so got over to the hole and everything. And I made her touch and pick it up. I wasn't going to touch. I never even touched it. I popped the plug and I saw the gold, and I never touched it. And so through the whole thing, she picked it up. I said, is that your husband's ring? She said, yeah. And she had a little tear in her eye and everything. And so I turned off the video, and I wish I hadn't have, because I made a comment to her at the end. I said, just think, Miss Keith, you were the first person to touch that ring since your husband lost it. And she started tearing up. She had tears rolling down her eyes. And that was that's what the hobby is about, is making moments like that for someone who has lost something. And I know a lot of folks that would probably dig a place like that and never even tell that they found a gold ring. But I'm about integrity, and I'm about honesty and trust. And that's what I teach my son. And that's what I want to instill in him. And the other one was talking about door knocking and getting your yes and no's. And every now and then you get a crazy or whatever. Me and Carl Peterson had knocked on a door, and that was the only one that day that I gave one of my cards to, of all people. And I get a message in my messenger on the way back home, and from somebody over at White's, that some lady had called saying that me and Carl that I basically had stopped in, and she was offended that we stopped and said that she had trash in her yard or metal in her yard or something like that. And she was going off and just going crazy. And I was like, she was as nice. I mean, as far as I knew, she was nice. I mean, I gave her my card. It was one of those situations where she was behind a screen door, and I said, do you mind if I give you my card, and you can call me if you change your mind or talk to your husband? I don't care. I said, because you got an early 1900s house. I said, there's going to be something in the yard from over 100 years of being out here. It may be modern trash, but it could also be wheat pennies or buttons or harmonica reeds. I try to list some things based on that time period of a house that I'm door knocking, so they know what I'm looking for. And so we left and thought everything was fine. All of a sudden I get a couple of messages from Steve Howard over at White saying that some crazy lady just called in to talk to somebody on the 800 number when they called in, and was going crazy about us stopping at their house and how dare we stop at their house. And she said something about we had kids there. And I was like, well, you were there too, is what I told Steve. I was like, the lady was there. She answered the door. It's not like her kids were there alone and they answered the door. So that was probably my worst encounter with a door knock that I've had.
That's crazy.
Well, you said it yourself. There's all different types. All different types.
I've actually got a permission and then lost it within 10 minutes. I'd actually dug a couple of wheat pennies and a mercury dime. I was coming back in from Virginia, and I stopped at a house. I still had time to kill, so I stopped at a little small town on the road and knocked on this lady's house. She had a breathing equipment on, and I knocked on her back door, and she answered the door, and I gave her my spill, gave her my card, and she was, oh yeah, you go right ahead. 20 minutes later, some dude and his girlfriend or wife pulls in and ended up being her grandson, and he goes, I don't know what's going on, but my grandma wants you to get the F off of her yard. And I said, she gave me permission. And he goes, I don't know. She called me and said, get him the F out of my yard. And I went, holy cow. I was like, I wouldn't be here unless she gave me permission.
She's probably afraid to tell you no. And then that's why she called.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I didn't think about that. I mean, she seemed nice, and I don't know. You just never know.
Did you find anything good before you had to leave?
Yeah, actually, I just dug a mercury dime, and I was about to go live. I ended up having to do a live video in the truck because whatever number it was at that time, I said yacht number whatever the hard way, and I did a live video and I explained what had just happened. And I said, well, I did get a silver, but I pretty much lost the permission after I just got it too.
Mhm.
So
She probably thought you were a crazy person. She looked out the window and saw you talking to yourself, not realizing you were talking to live stream.
Yeah. It's like, this guy's nuts.
Well, a lot of people think we're nuts anyway for what we do. So
yeah, I've had some crazy. There was one house that had a number for sale by owner. So I called the number, and it ended up being the daughter. I guess the mother had passed away, and they were selling the house. And so I talked to the daughter, and I said, hey, how are you doing? My name is Shawn, and I see you got your house is for sale. And she goes, oh yeah, we're wanting this. I said, I'm not calling to buy it. I just wanted to call to ask you if you would allow someone to metal detect it. She goes, no, why would anybody do that? I don't want nobody metal detecting in my yard. What kind of question is that? And hung up on me. I was like, well, it goes back to the yes or no, I guess.
Yeah, people don't get what we do, but hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
We do it just because we want to do it. So
yep. All right, well, thank you, Shawn, for being on our
great.
show tonight.
It was fun. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
I learned a lot. It's always fun to have people who because I don't know you. I never have talked to you or spoken with you before. Same with some of us, and it's always fun to just hear all the different stories. And I'm sitting here like entertained, and I'm like, like, oh, I should probably say something now because it's our stream. And I'm like, oh, that's such a cool thing. Those stories are awesome. But thank you very much for being on our stream. Really appreciate it. Hope to get to detect with you one day.
Yeah,
and,
hopefully TikTok maybe.
Yeah, that would be good.
Maybe at TikTok. All right. Any other things for the good of the order from the panel? Anybody?
I've posted in the chat your Facebook group, which is really active. Make sure you check it out. It's a great group. He posts it all the time. And I've also posted your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Hit it up.
Appreciate
Make sure you watch some of his videos.
I got more coming. So just please be
Awesome.
patient with me. I'm having to teach private pup during the day. So I don't have a lot of time to work, teach him, and then go metal detect. So
now you've mentioned before we get off here, he goes to all year school, right?
Yeah, he goes to year-round school.
Year-round, yeah.
He gets the same amount of time off that normal people do with traditional during that long break. They just break it up into weeks and 2-week periods over the whole year. So
because Ohio, my wife's a teacher for Akron Public Schools. And they've actually thought about doing that with some of their schools.
I got you. Yeah, there's 4 tracks. So at one time, there's 3 tracks in and 1 track out at all times.
That's awesome. Cool. After party time.
All right.
All right. I just posted the after party link. Wait till we're off here live and click the Zoom link and be a part of our fun, weird fun, crazy fun, arguing fun, whatever.
You never know what's going to happen.
Like Weigold is live. Welcome to our live stream, Weigold. All right, guys, we're going to end here. Thank you again, Shawn, for being on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much. It was good meeting you.
Yes, Shawn. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Come to the after party.
Bye.
All right.
See ya.
Little Diggers.